this low and regress this much that we actually have to even have this conversation. According to NBC's latest study, over 64% of Florida Republicans support Trump's notion of banning Muslims. And he's digging his heels in as we see, and he's now the GOP nominee. Last year in Florida, we've seen a 500% increase in anti-Muslim incidents of hate. You know, that's very disturbing. And we're living very troubling times. I think ultimately ignorance is what's fueling this. You know, when you look at some of the data in terms of terrorism, for example, 6% of terrorist attacks in the U.S. between 1980 to 2005 were committed by those who call themselves Muslim. But 80% of the media coverage focused on that 6%. So there's a disproportionate connection when it comes to the Muslim community and violence, when statistically there's no more a threat coming from the Muslim community than there is from the Christian community or the atheist community or anything else. Unfortunately, you know, when somebody does something horrible and claims to be a member of our community, we all get the blame for it. Yet when millions of Muslims do great things every single day, we certainly don't get the credit for it. So there's a double standard. In fact, Georgetown University's Bridge Initiative has done an excellent study, and I highly encourage you all to use it as a resource, showing that anti-Muslim incidents of hate are not connected to bad things done by Muslims, because there's bad people in every group that do bad things. Rather, they are connected to politicians making the case for war against Muslim-majority countries, or just trying to whip up fear and hysteria to gain votes. And it's that toxic rhetoric that they're pumping out that, in essence, dehumanizes the Muslim community and therefore legitimizes incidents of discrimination or even violence. So ultimately, I think it's important that we recognize our enemies can never destroy us. We can only destroy ourselves if we allow fear and hate to undermine, to turn us against each other, undermine the principles of liberty and justice that make our nation so great. You know, fear ultimately is our biggest enemy. Ignorance is our biggest enemy. Ignorance leads to misunderstanding. That leads to fear. That leads to hate. And that ultimately leads to discrimination, civil rights abuse, and then completely un-American principles, such as talking about banning people based on their religion. You know, this country was started with the whole concept that people should not be treated differently from their government based on their religion. And it's a shame to see how far we're going back. But I'm very proud that I think the incidence of Islamophobia that the community has been dealing with has forced us to not only build one of the strongest and most active civil rights organizations in the state of Florida, but really serve all minorities and all victims of discrimination and harassment, regardless of their race or religion or ethnicity. And that's what we've established ourselves as, especially under the leadership of Tanya with our civil rights department. Last year we got over 1,000 calls for help, opened up 400 new cases, and really just helped so many families, so many different people whose rights have been denied simply because of the color of their skin or because of where they choose to worship God. So I'm proud that the American Muslim community has established itself as champions of justice for all and will continue to do that. Anytime there's a victim of discrimination, harassment, or abuse because of race, religion, ethnicity, or so on, you know, people can know that they have an ally and a support and a friend in CAIR. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing from our speaker and enjoying some good breakfast. Take care.